Okay, so here's another example I think would be good for us to do. Let's now graph y equals the sine of x over 2. So in this case, we do have sine of omega times x, right? Where in this case, we have omega would be a half. Okay, so let's again get the period, right? So as before, we have 0 less than or equal to x over 2, right? That's our omega times x. This is less than or equal to 2 pi, right? So we want to get x in the middle. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, you could divide by omega. That's what I did in the previous video. But really, you can also get x here by multiplying everything by 2. Okay, so let's do that, which really amounts to the same thing. If you divide by a half, that's the same as multiplying by 2. So if we multiply everything by 2, here's 2, here's 2, here's 2, which again is the same as dividing by omega, which is a half. So we get 0 here, less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 2 pi times 2, which is 4 pi. So in this case, what we have is the period is 4 times pi, and our interval in this case, where one cycle is completed, that's going to be the interval from 0 to 4 pi. So now we have this. What we can do is we can graph the function sine of x over 2. And we need our x values, right? And remember, to get the x values, to get the steps, so to say, you divide by 4. So let's make our table. Here's our x. We have y is sine of x over 2, like so. Okay, and again, what we're going to do is we're going to step by our period divided by 4, which in this case is pi. So we're going to start at 0, okay? Then we're going to add our period over 4, which is pi. So we're going to add pi, and of course we get pi. We add pi again. We get 2 pi. We're going to add pi again. Again, this is basically our step, so to say, the period over 4. That's how much we increase our x by to get the points, to get the x coordinates of the points that we're going to plot. Move this up. So 2 pi, we get 3 pi next. And finally, one more time, adding pi, we get 4 pi. And we end at 4 pi. Good. Okay, so at 0, we're going to get sine of 0 over 2, which as we know is just sine of 0, which is 0. At pi, so this is what y is. Here we get y, we get sine of pi over 2, and that we know is 1. Here we have y equals sine of 2 pi over 2, which is sine of pi, which is 0. Here we have y equals sine of 3 pi over 2, which is negative 1. Finally, we get sine of 4 pi over 2, which is sine of 2 pi, which is 0. Okay, so again, we get that 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0. Okay, good. Now we're ready to graph this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is graph it. So let's do that. Here's 0. We'll make that 1, negative 1. And again, we're going to graph it on the interval from 0 to 4 pi. here's our step pi, right? 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. That's good. So now we know at 0 we get 0, pi we get 1, 2 pi we get 0, right? The pattern, notice the pattern. 3 pi we get -1, 4 pi we're at 0. We plot it, right? Connect the dots, so to say. And we get one full cycle of y equals sine of x over 2. So that's one cycle of this function.